Great news has just been released in the K Flock case from his lawyers. Here's what he said in an interview.
When the guy hits the ground and is found, he's got a loaded that was in his pocket that his hand was on at the time. We consider that to be self-defense.
So he did heed them in self-defense.
That's what the allegation is. I don't want to talk too much about the details of the case,
Okay.
but the government claims that he pulled the. But at the same time, the person that was on the ground had his hand on a illegal loaded, apparently about Kevin.
Okay. So without saying too much, you're arguing obviously self-defense. That's the crux of the case.
That could be one of the arguments, self-defense. And I would say to the public, somebody's walking up to you with a loaded, it's pretty clear is going to use it, with a criminal record a mile long. Do you want to get or do you not want to?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate to pull the.
Now, after that was revealed, he shared the exclusive description on what happened the day K Flock was arrested. The rapper ran into a serious altercation outside of a barbershop in New York City. From the photos you see here on December 23rd, 2021, K Flock was walking down the sidewalk with two other individuals. K Flock was wearing the blue coat and was wearing a Pooh Shiesty mask as well, hiding his identity, that way no fans or ops would catch him lacking. Now, while walking past the barbershop, a man then walks out of the shop, as he noticed a man walking by flooded in designer clothing, and he just may have noticed that it was K Flock. The man in question leaving the barbershop's name is Oscar Hernandez. Hernandez stepped out of the barbershop while K Flock kept walking by. He then screams at Flock asking, "Hey, what are you looking at?" This is when witnesses claim a small argument then brewed up between the two on the sidewalk, which then even led into the street. This then ended with Hernandez walking away from K Flock. Flock was then seen pulling a firearm out of his waistband and using it towards Hernandez while he was walking back to the barbershop. Now, with it connecting, Hernandez is seen on surveillance trying to drag his way into the barbershop for help. Hernandez later then passed from his injuries at the local NYC hospital. All that was left at the scene was shell casings and Hernandez's slides that he was wearing. Kevin Perez, professionally known as K Flock, was immediately the main suspect in the investigation. He then turned himself into the NYPD on December 23rd and is currently facing charges of the first degree. K Flock is being held on Rikers Island jail. Him and his lawyers are doing anything possible to get him released, and Hernandez's parents spoke out about the passing the next day after it happened. They believe this was a case of mistaken identity. Oscar Hernandez was a delivery man for Uber Eats and was described as a hard worker. Now, once this case hit news headlines, this photo was released of the main suspect. Before K Flock turned himself in, the NYPD was hoping the public could help find the main suspect in this case. Thousands of fans realized that the photo they posted on their social media looked exactly like New York rapper K Flock as this photo was released. The NYPD then quickly put out a warrant for K Flock's arrest. K Flock hired one of the best lawyers in the game. That's when K Flock and his lawyer were then seen walking into the NYPD 30th precinct together. His lawyer then put out this statement. "Yesterday, I accompanied Kevin, aka K Flock, as he self-surrendered to detectives in the 30th precinct. Arrangements were immediately made with the NYPD once I learned that he was wanted. As to the charges against him, we have begun our own investigation into these allegations. Most importantly, considering the DA's significant disclosure this morning that the NYPD received a tip saying someone else is the hitter, we demanded the DA's office provides disclosure of the videos referenced in the complaint and more information on the tip. We will address bail once we have had a chance to review the case and further investigate the DA's noteworthy disclosures." Now, after this statement was released, the NYPD then put out their statement. The NYPD believed this incident was street-related, based on K-Flock's documented affiliation on the Bronx-based 3rd Side Street team. Now this is where things get even more interesting. Another video would go quickly viral online, showing a man matching the suspect photo on FaceTime, showing his firearm that was tucked into his waistband of his designer clothing. Now numerous amounts of ops would celebrate K-Flock's arrest on social media, leaving many to believe it was them who released the barbershop footage online, which then obviously helped K-Flock be arrested. It's been rumored that K-Flock was on his ops block during this situation, and that he was on FaceTime with an op showing his location before it happened. This would make sense as to why he was wearing a Pooh Shiesty mask, and why possibly the man inside of the barbershop knew exactly who to look for, as there could have been some sort of iMessage group chat saying, hey, there's an op on our block, he's wearing this clothing, be on the lookout for him, which is why he would have just left the barbershop for no reason, just as a man walked by. After video footage of the crime was posted all over the internet, everybody claimed self-defense, as Oscar Hernandez is the one who went after K-Flock on the sidewalk, as well as the new information that was released at the start of the video, as Oscar allegedly had his own firearm that was in his pocket of his sweater. Now there's just one little issue with that, and this is that the self-defense in New York City is practically non-existent. The law in New York City is very different than, let's say, Florida. Having a firearm in general in New York City is highly against the law. The only ones allowed carrying a firearm is law enforcement, ex-law enforcement, and registered security guards. You are not allowed to touch a firearm inside of New York. If you're caught with one, that alone is a 10-year prison sentence. Let's say, for sake of argument, let's say that K-Flock can claim self-defense as easy as he could in Florida, as Florida has a stand your own ground law. Now this is immediately thrown out of the window, as allegedly K-Flock used his firearm while Hernandez was walking back to the barbershop, meaning that Hernandez was affected at his backside with the firearm. Now the argument in court would be made of how is K-Flock in fear of his life or the stand your own ground law if the man affected isn't even facing you face to face. On video surveillance, Oscar Hernandez is seen walking away from K-Flock, meaning that any sort of situation that was going on was dealt with as he was leaving the scene. So this wouldn't even stand in court whether or not they even were in Florida, but the self-defense law in New York City is so much different. The rest of the evidence isn't super clear, but the probable cause to arrest stated that he used a firearm against an individual on surveillance footage, as allegedly K-Flock was seen wearing that same outfit of designer clothing and other social media posts. And it doesn't help that K-Flock also flexed the same firearm with an extended clip on social media. But there are positives that are being released for K-Flock. Allegedly Oscar Hernandez having his own firearm on him, as well as what happened to DJ Akademiks. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. An alleged family member of Oscar Hernandez allegedly went on social media and even sent DJ Akademiks DMs stating that K-Flock is not a man for what he did to Oscar. Allegedly this family member is claiming that Oscar was gonna do it first to K-Flock, but he didn't end up doing it, and Flock ended up taking the easy way out, waiting for Oscar to turn his back, and then did it. Akademiks spoke about this in his latest video, as well as in a live stream, but let's just see what comes out of that. It's been District Trending, and I'm out. Peace.